All rise to the allegiance salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, which is one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Thank you, everybody. With that, I'd like to call to order the November 15th, 2023 Lower Southford Township Communications Committee. You all for being here. And one of our committee members is under the weather, but Jess will hopefully be joining us on Zoom. So we're going to keep an eye out for her as well. Hope she feels better. Our first order of business is to approve the minutes from the October 2023 meeting. Hopefully everybody had a moment to look them over. John, as always, thank you for putting this together.
My apology for getting me out last minute.
No worries, no worries. Any comments or adjustments to the minutes? We have a copy of them.
Yeah,
On the
yeah, I saw them on the.
okay. Any comments or additional information? We have a motion to approve the minutes as set forth for our October 2023 meeting.
I move.
Thank you, Terry. Seconded. Thank you, Dean. All in favor, please say aye.
I
And opposed? I heard everybody say yes. Just want to make sure. Very good. So 4-0. Our next order of business is a call for a public discussion and any visitor comments. I always welcome anybody from the audience, both online and in person, if they have any feedback or questions for our committee. And also keep that opportunity open for our members. Seeing none, we will move on. But again, if somebody does arrive, we will always welcome that again at the end of our meeting too. Old business. Last month, we discussed a resident welcome letter and our packets. First thing we discussed, our first part of this business was, and for everybody watching, we discussed the idea of possibly having a welcome packet arrive for new residents in our areas. Somebody were to move in this area, we've learned just from surveys and communications that not everybody's aware of what the township has to offer, where to go for resources. So we thought it'd be great to send our resident packet. And that's what we wanted to discuss and how we would do that. So last week we talked about a letter. I did have a discussion with Chairman Bergman, and he says he's absolutely okay with us drafting a welcome letter. He'd be happy to look over and sign. So that's, he said he has no problem with that. He liked the idea as well. And as we discussed last time, as we wanted to have a letter from our chairman, I was telling him some of the things that we wanted to include. He said he trusts us on that, but we did talk about the text message capabilities, our website, quick reference guide, constant contact, keep an eye out for how to contact our website. And we were thinking of keeping it specific, brief, and to the point. And that's kind of what we wanted to do with that letter. So we can, if we want, we can try to compose a letter today, if we kind of discuss, since we don't have one now. That was one option we have, but not to jump too far ahead. But the other thing that we have on this as well to discuss are our packet contents, as well as new resident identification. So, and I will say in the casual conversations I've had with other members of the board, their majority are mostly supportive of this idea. I did talk to, and just before we decided on the write letter too, I did talk to our manager, Mr. Skowski as well, and he likes the idea too. The concerns that the township seems to have, and some of the supervisors, just the only concerns is that we might not be able to reach every resident or be aware of every resident. So that was one of the things that I think that we discussed how we would best knock that off. I did check to see if we have any resources from anywhere of any kind of new residents altogether. Do have a resource, but it doesn't seem like one that we'd be able to use. And what that is the county gives the township an updated assessment, on property owners and whatnot. That comes, he said, usually about 6-8 months, you'll get one. The problem is we would have to individually go through every one of that and see what matches up, what doesn't. That means that would be probably something difficult to do. So I did mention what we were discussing last time and wasn't as familiar with that, but open to seeing how it works, and having a discussion, especially for that amount of money. As I said, we indicated, discussed last time, as a smaller amount to try, so it doesn't seem like it's a bad idea. Again, obviously, we always want to discuss and present things to the board, but I wanted to share that that seems to be the consensus right now. Just be that we want to reach every resident. Any questions on that?
Say, or is that your postal? Or what were you referring to in terms of?
Referring to mailing a packet as we discussed as well.
Right,
So,
right.
and how, how we would reach each resident. The concern was just making sure that we would reach every single person who was new, and
Yeah.
also timing. That was another discussion, because if it does take a year, we only get an update a year using countywide. That person may have already lived here for a year. Would that be more insulting than to receive something a year later?
Oh, just
Once we
discovered
discuss it,
your-
right? Oh, hey,
That's
look
what
who's
it was.
here, right? Whereas somebody might have joined 1 month and then, so a year ago, even though the only information we have. And they were the only concerns, just to make sure that we done timely, what would be the method of doing that. And as I said, not so much concerns, but just remarks of this would be important for me. So that's the consensus that I received there. And unfortunately, as I said, there's not a sure way of doing it through the township, which I think we would have to go back to learn more about what John was suggesting with the services that we have as well. But I think it's worthwhile, personally, I think it's worthwhile to compose a letter, have something intact, and see where we go from there.
My question is now, since you mentioned before about other townships having something on their website, how would that impact what we're doing with mailings?
Good question. That's something that John actually said as well. And that to me, I kind of see it in a couple ways, and I'm open for discussion with this too. Right now, we don't have a website thing, nor do we have a welcome packet. So kind of creating this, you're right, do we want to create both at the same time? It might be a poor decision to create this letter with intent that we have this ready to go, if that's a longer process or something that we don't have up right away. So we could go about approaching both at the same time, perhaps. Or is this something that we would want to just treat as two separate things? And again, just for anybody too, the reason that we brought up other townships is in our discussions today, it was pointed out that neighboring township, Hatfield, has their welcome packet on their website, which has a lot more information, which we will be sharing a little bit here to take a look at too. That's a good question, Terry, and I think I leave that open to the committee as to what we want to do. They're just my
I think
thoughts.
that. The stuff that we want in the packet is physical in nature, right? Or it ends up being, a group of web pages. I think what we want to share, I mean, that conversation is still valuable, right?
Right.
And then whether, because we can't get a web page, or web pages up quick enough, it may be, again, kind of a good pilot to start with physical stuff, right?
Mhm.
At some point, transition it so that the majority of the packet is online, right? And all you're mailing out is the welcome letter, a pointer to where they get the rest of the information. But I think the idea that we talk about and agree, okay, this is what should be in the packet, whether it's electronic or physical in the mail, is still the same conversation.
Right, I agree.
That's a great point.
And I agree. I think maybe if we do a timeline, so if we do the physical first, then once we later on down the road, then we can do the, online version of it. But so it should be easier because we'll just be transporting the physical into online.
And the one thing I do want to point out, not to go too far ahead, but again, we can point these up right now because it kind of does apply in a way. The ones that were online were much more than these packets were much more than we talked about mailing. That is the one thing that we said, and I guess kind of piggyback, if this is what you're saying, John, is our packets will either say, go to our website in general, or go to our welcome packet link on our website. So and that's something that we could block and just kind of update as we go along too.
And my thought is it would be a specific new resident pages.
Right.
Not just go to the website.
Right, something specific, and that's how I found them out. In fact, when I went to Hatfield, I was hoping to see something right away and say, oh, this is what we can do. But it took some clicking, down the resources and know what's new. Oh, here we go. And it's a great packet. Again, I don't know how they utilize it. It was we found this quick, so whether they have physical packets in their vestibules, I don't know. But again, having just the online PDF was neat to see.
I think that we need to be cautious about making an assumption that if we do an electronic PDF thing, that we're reaching everybody that's in the resin.
Exactly, because then we run back into, now that we have this great thing on our website, which our website has a lot of great things, how do we let people know that that information is there? So.
Yeah, I,
Great point.
my thinking is, you still need a welcome letter. Right? Even if, you know, the majority of the material you want to pass them is electronic,
Right,
you still need a welcome letter.
you wanna grab them and direct them that way regardless.
Which will be nice because postage will be less than at that point. We're just putting a letter in.
Yeah, right.
And I think it's still worthwhile to absolutely include, you know, definitely our quick reference guide as we had. That's something that somebody could put right on the fridge, that's right there, I'm a new resident. Boom, now I don't have to worry about going online, what was that number we had again? That's
Absolutely.
usually,
I think it's really core, still needs to be physical.
absolutely, and that's,
Right.
that's a great point, so I think having that quick reference guide is huge.
So like last week, we talked about including the newsletter, which would be, I mean, you're no longer into a folded legal envelope, you're talking about a large packet, right, to ship that. But if you could direct them to where that is electronically, and not have that postage. Still be able to keep it to a letter format, a letter size,
Yeah,
but hopefully still get them directed to that latest newsletter.
I think that's a great point. So I think in regards to packet contents, which we can kind of combine with the letter as well. The letter is definitely a priority. We want in there. We want to make sure we can draft it. And I think to help draft the letter is to understand what else will be in there. I definitely think a quick reference guide is easy to put in and not much more postage, one more piece of paper. Is everybody in agreement with that?
the
Quick reference
letter,
guide
plus the quick reference guide.
so far, and we did discuss the other options there. What, any other suggestions? Would we need much more as well if the letter specifically says?
It's
Okay.
Talked about letter, the quick reference guide, the current newsletter, but that was besides consideration. A map, trail map. Instructions for subscribing to Ready Monco alerts and text messages. I mean, the website, of course, URL or QR. Instructions for getting to constant contact. Right? And then there's, I think 5, 6, and 7, those instructions, I think we also had talked about. Those things get kind of worked into the welcome letter,
Right.
so that we're covering those things as part of the welcome. So providing them physical things like the quick reference guide or the map, potentially the newsletter if it's a larger mailing. Right, but then giving them that information that gets them future information.
Right.
In terms of alerts, the website, constant contact.
Thank you for pointing that out. I did forget the map, which I think is another thing that fits in the same thing as the quick reference guide. Somebody might say, hey, let's go out back, let's check this out, you know, wherever they might be too, it's good.
Is there, excuse my ignorance, is there a trail map on the website? There is one?
There is one, and we can print them as well. Now, they print them on bigger sizes or even 8x11, which would fit in there. It's harder to see in that regard, but we do have it. So I know that we send them to some of the residential facilities. You know, another thing I thought of just as you were pointing these out as well, something to have on here again with the Ready Monco text alert. We could even put something maybe the size of an index card, you know, just to sit inside there as, you know, imagine if you're opening up something and, oh, you have these instructions, oh, look at this thing. Just something to pick up that maybe somebody would put on their fridge that says, hey, did you know you can sign up for this text message? Just like that, and they'll mention it in the letter, but just have that right there, because I'm thinking that's a great point, having those text alerts. That's another way that a lot of people I think will utilize. And how do we get that in there? Do we want that separate or part of the letter? That's a whole other thing where we could do that extra text here, and we could put all the website and that as well on their own separate page. I think that might be something where we could think of something that could, I wouldn't sort, but I guess kind of pop, something that somebody would see right away, like boom, 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 just 2, 3 quick graphics that would grab someone's attention. Oh, I didn't know I could do that too. In addition to mentioning it in the letter, might be a good way to direct people. Just an idea there as well.
Or even if the letter simply bullet pointed these things as ways of getting it.
That's
Did
true.
you know that we use constant contact? Did you know that? Here are 3 ways of getting information from the township. Bullet point 1, constant. Ready Monco, bullet point 3, whatever, right? And then a separate. The instructions. After that, do that. Instructions for Ready Monco, constant contact, I guess, would be through our website.
I think that's appealing to me, it's straightforward, and again, it's exciting to want to give so much, but then we run on to, while it's exciting for us, while we're here, we're, committed to this, other people who don't know about that, it's too much information, so you wanted the facts there, I do like that. Another question I'd like to bring from that to piggyback. Do we like the idea of having something separate or in addition, even if we were to go with that, to explain exactly how to log on to Ready Monco? That could be something useful to people if they don't know how to do that, I'm not sure. Or should we rely on our website, because the information presumably, should be there, and if not, we would make sure it would be.
I
Get it.
I think you can give them one online point of contact, one web contact. And then in that web contact, then get your other information in there about other potential points of contact. But I think if they see multiple things listed in the letter, it's almost like a mental deterrent kind of thing. Oh, I have to look at all this.
True.
They can just go to one thing that will then lead into the other things if they wish.
And kind of gear the letter more towards. Did you know how much we have to offer? Things like, or things such as, go here to explore kind of idea.
Right.
If we want to include that, because you're right, we don't
something
need to include that.
we-
Right,
Here's-
I agree with, but I still think that it's not too cumbersome if we bullet point in the letter these items. But as you said, just bullet point them, but then say, to know more about this or to sign up for these services, here's where you go. As you said, the one point of contact. So the letter bullet points some of this information, but then directs them to the one web page or the one place where they can kind of take it and go from there.
what I like about that, and I like both, really, I do, I see both positives, what I like about that is. Maybe, I might think, oh, I know all there is to know from another outlet, like we're looking at, as we have it, and I think should be, how we get. People direct them to our website, but supposing somebody has already been to our website, now might not know that there's something further, such as the recent text messaging that they can do, and I think that might be. Handy to see in that regard, but I agree with Gene not to bombard too much, so one link might work. You were going to say something, sorry.
No, I was just gonna, reiterate, I would be, because I'm not really that much to the whole electronics thing. I utilize it as a resource, but if I can just click once. It gets me to a site that gives me all this other stuff, and I can then be selective about what else I might want to click on.
Right.
That would be my preferred way of dealing with it.
And I think it will make more sense once we have a draft of a letter that we can see, then we'll understand like how it will work, think better. But I'm really in favor of doing the letter and just the constant contact page, and that's it.
The quick reference.
I'm sorry, the quick reference,
Something,
yeah.
And the more we're speaking about it,
Yeah.
too, I think, I love the idea of adding more and more, but again, it's done with the newsletter would be great, but unfortunately that. That would be harder to see, and we have digital versions of it. I know they come into constant contact, I believe they're on the website too. So. Okay,
I wonder how hard it would be or how costly it would be to to have a new resident landing page put up on the website so that via the specific URL in the letter or a QR code on the letter, you bypass everything, you take them, right to this page
Right,
that then has, the link to Ready Monco or the link to sign up for contact with the specific new resident stuff. So as you said, going through Hatfield or Pepper, they don't have to navigate anywhere. It's right there.
and that's a great point too, because going right to that page, it could be subject to change as well. This is a page, not so much a link. Okay, this is this page, new resident, then eventually we have a packet. Okay, here's our resident packet, and it could just be click this link and view this, and we could go from there, which could always be subject to change. That's something we could definitely ask. Can't imagine it being a lot more, but worth checking. I think this is all great information and great things to consider, especially from all perspectives too. So I just want to confirm one more time, I think the consensus where we are is to keep the letter, keep our quick reference guide, and go from there. I will ask about having that landing page. I do feel, I don't know how you two feel as well, but I feel that that's probably the best way to go, where, because great point, you go onto a website, it could be overwhelming, you're distracted, you just want one
So many things you
information.
could click on.
And for example, you're going to go to our website right now, you're going to see all about the Letter Rock study tomorrow night, which is great and important to have that information up there. It's going to be the first information, but if you're on the other side of town, you just moved in, you only want to find, where to call something, you don't want to see all that at that moment. So I think that would be the way to go. If we can get that. And then the letter would obviously reflect that list. So back to the letter, would it be wise to construct a letter right now? We all want to do that? Or is that something I have no problem going through, or we can even just kind of go over the synopsis of what is important, draft it over again. It's either way is fine with me, a consensus of what everybody would like to do.
I would be fine with getting started on it.
Okay.
I think it's good.
Yeah.
I don't think something we're gonna accomplish in one.
No, I don't.
Session.
Probably add a little more to it, but
Right.
so it might be just to get a general idea. Start off with dear new resident or dear residents.
Or, yeah, or just
Welcome.
welcome, yeah, welcome or something.
And I'm not going to be texting on my phone, but I find it easier to put it like that. That's here, so that's not typical.
Okay.
So I want to clarify that way I can type it rather than. Welcome. Or welcome to Lower Southbridge Township. So something like that.
Right.
Yeah. We might not necessarily have to say welcome resident.
Right.
And if we just have a welcome to Lower Southbridge Township
Yeah,
as the
it's
topic,
better.
is that okay as a welcome? Sorry,
Or Lower Selfridge Township, welcome to you.
very good. I like that as well. Southbridge Township welcomes you. Now, I think it's best to write down just to double check the things we want to include in the letter one more time. Give us a little starting point. So welcome, or Lower Southbridge Township welcomes you. And then the things that we just want to go over is. Should we start it with did you know this, our township has lots to offer, perhaps?
I wouldn't say, just that our township has.
Very good. Our township has. Maybe even to make it even more personal to add to it, our township has a rich history and much to offer. I think to, keep you a little more.
That sounds good. I think right now that we should just get down the main ideas and then
Yeah,
we'll finesse it. and-
Yeah.
Yeah.
flesh it
And I
out.
don't. Next time with the
Right.
thing. Okay, so we're gonna say, welcome to the township. Our township has much to offer. And should we list that and possibly go right into bullet points or place?
Yeah, right now, and then, as I said, we'll flush it out, like,
And to do, should we say, in Lower Salford, you can, or Lower Salford has, and then bullet point, or just bullet point out, we have text messaging, we have this.
Lower Salford offers the following ways to communicate with our residents.
Right. And I was thinking, you need something to say what these bullet points are.
Right.
These bullet points are not everything that's in the township, right? When you
Right.
introduce the bullet points, says,
Right.
this is how you get information
Right.
in the township.
Very good. Our township has much to offer. Lower Salford offers the following ways to communicate with our residents.
Something like
And
that.
then, yeah,
Some of these ways, or such as,
Right.
or including, and then,
yeah, we'll just get to the bullets within it, such as, and we're gonna put in text message capabilities. And I don't think now, to what Gene was saying, we don't have to go into detail about that so
Yeah.
much, you know, we'll have if we have that website link, we can specifically have, wanna learn about this, click here, go from there. The text message alerts perhaps.
right,
Yeah,
right.
Alerts for, should we bother saying for emergencies or
No,
just text message
I
alert?
think
works?
alert works, yeah.
Constant contact.
Mhm.
Next thing we have was quick reference guide, that would be redundant there. Constant contact. The other things we listed was text message capabilities, website, there was a website. Up-to-date website perhaps, or some other way.
I would say something about the website for in-depth information about these, the website, contact the township website.
Visit the website, which
Visit-
is constantly
Right,
updated.
right.
That works.
But you want to let them know
So at
that
the end
for
of
them
this-
to get more information about everything we're listing, they can go to the website.
Should we put more of that?
Township website for resources and updates.
That might work too. It's just, I was thinking more on lines of, like, say you want permits, stuff like that, you know, where that might cover that. Say that again for me, Dean Township website.
For resources and updates, available resources and updates.
We should also possibly put up our residential request portal. That's
Right,
that's very
right.
helpful. Just occurred to me. That's old news now. Very good. Residential request portal. Okay, so it's such as, and even I'm gonna move this down, such as text message alert, constant contact, a residential request portal. And then say, and of course, maybe we could go to the township website and please visit I'll keep what you have there, the township website for resources and updates. And
Resident request.
resident request portal. Have on
Got
that.
all that, okay.
The only ones that we had on here last time, again, were website constant contact. They were the only ones that we didn't have, that we mentioned,
I
so
think constant contact requires any additional description of what it is.
I don't think so. I think, what do you think on that, John? Barry? I mean, I know I'm familiar with it. Do you think constant contact requires any description? I think if I wasn't familiar with it, I might go and see what it was about. Maybe.
I think, actually, it was a question I had. For each of these bullet points, do you need a one sentence sub bullet point? Some kind of description as to what it is, or what it does for me, or potentially what I get out of it. Because I agree,
I think you
not
need something
everyone
for
needs
for
constant
people to
contact
actually
is.
click on. it
That's
Without
good.
knowing what kind of thing they're reach.
And I agree. I don't think everybody knows what constant, if you say constant contact, it's not. It's
Yeah.
not a commonly,
And that's why it's hard for me to know, just because I'm familiar with it, you know, here,
Right,
with
right.
outside, I wouldn't know, possibly, I'm not sure.
same with the reference to text messaging and
Reporting.
how you word that as Reddy Monaco.
So
The
another,
majority,
yeah.
75% of people are not gonna know what that is, unless you say something, yeah,
So maybe we say a sentence about each one.
right,
Maybe just have a
Like a
bullet point,
description.
parentheses underneath,
Right.
you know, and so I like that idea and it's great, but text messaging alerts. Parentheses, you know, for emergencies or up-to-date information, sign up. Or, you know, we'll keep it brief on that, same thing with constant contact, parentheses. Weekly or monthly email alerts and emergency alerts via email. Resident request portal, a way to contact the township on your mobile device on the go. Something to the point, and the township website, we could then put in parentheses. Many resources and
yeah,
updates
again, township resources.
and updates, I think that might be the best way to go with that, that's a
Right.
great point for.
So particularly like a one sentence description of each.
Yeah, I think that would look, I think that would look good too, because you're right, you're, the resident request portal, I would. This, you know, it's, we came up with that name anyway. So, the text message alerts does
And
this,
then, last but not least, as Holly always remembers, the phone number for the office.
yes,
But-
yes,
Or call,
Right,
how about, so we could say something for more information on this, or to see, and to see what other resources we have to offer, please visit the township website. Or call us at,
Right.
and,
Right.
kind of just keep it at that. I mean, I don't know if we want to add anything else there, of course, if Keith will be signing, or if, you know, Bergman's signing it, if he wants to add any little tidbit, that's fine as well. So again, just, and then we'll perfect it down. Our township has much to offer. Lower Salford offers the following ways to communicate with our residents, such as, then again, each one will have a little point as to what is text message alerts, constant contact, residential request portal, township website, resources and updates, and then say if more information on these resources or questions you may have, then we'll just link that up. Please visit the website. If we can get our website there, should we put that separate? New residents? I think we should have our website separate, maybe on that too. So if we ever
Right.
get the new resident part, we could say, visit our new resident here or visit our website. But I think for now, we should keep
right,
it too.
because we don't have it yet.
Right.
will this go out on letterhead, does that have the website already? Header or?
I know it'll have on letterhead, but I don't think it would be too redundant to put it on again. I think, you know, especially if it's on a letterhead, people may not see it, but that was one thing that we did discuss that. Yes, we're gonna have, make sure that this can be done on letterhead that we have, and that shouldn't be a problem. Good question. So moving forward, I can have that letter for next time there as well, and if anybody can think of anything else to add to that, we can do that, and we'll take Jess's input too. Any other questions on the letter? It seems so simple because it seems so short, but I think it shows a lot that we really did put a lot into it. It's simple, but it's effective. That was, I think that was good.
And not overwhelming, that's.
Right, and I think all that was important. Gave me a different perspective there too, so that'll look good. Any other comments on the letter? All right.
Fact that we have all these things already set up and working out.
It's true.
Click here.
It is,
There you go.
we're going in the right order, so. And then I think we discussed already with our packet contents as well. If this were done here, the new resident identification, next part that we have.
So, okay,
Okay,
so. I went out to. The site. As we talked about last time, you can do it by city selection, zip code selection. And after looking at that, I decided to use their radius. So many miles from some point, at least as an experiment. So I used my house, which looked like it was roughly in the middle of the township, right? and tried to get a radius that was kind of out to Skipback Pike and out, it generally, but it's a circular radius that they map to. So it was about a radius of 2.5 miles, which would put it at about 5 miles across or something like that. And then, so that's where I started. And then I asked for both multifamily and single family dwellings. I asked for at least a change in the city. So if somebody's moving from Harleysville to Harleysville, it would be excluded. It has to, their address has to at least change the city.
It's a good one. Yeah.
I included all the age groups except the youngest, which was like under 25. I'm not sure what you would pick up if you picked up, 18 to 25 kind of a group, but again, I was just kind of experimenting. So I included ages from 25 to 80 plus. That resulted in I started out with a 3-month period. And that gave me like 45 minutes. But then I started thinking, so as I mentioned last time, the costs start at a minimum of $62.50, right? And for that you get like up to 250, something I've heard about. I'm paying $62.50, and this is an experiment, right? So I kind of widened it up. So I widened it to a 3-mile radius and a full year. So anyone has that only took it up to 60. Right? So it didn't change a lot. Right? And so for $62.50, I purchased that list. Right now, this is and I didn't have a lot of time to do this, but I wanted to kind of test these against something. So I went out to the Montgomery County Public Information, the public records site, and looked at deeds and mortgages, Montgomery County, thinking, okay, if they're listing this as some kind of move, was there a title change, a deed change, something, in Montgomery County records, right? And unfortunately, I mean, I only had time to like look at a couple of these, but I wasn't getting the hits that I expected. So I looked up, 3 addresses that are on here, and none of the names matched. The names that are listed here were I did not see it like on the mortgage application or something like that that would indicate that. In some cases, there was some kind of activity at that resident in that time frame. In other cases, there weren't. So again, spent 15 minutes just trying to validate the list against the county record, just to see if it, if I could kind of test the results against that or not. And it wasn't happy what I was seeing, right? But I'm also, I didn't spend a lot of time trying to figure out what was going on, right? So big cautionary note there, right? That, are these addresses, are these new residents that we're getting, are they valid or not? So you have to kind of do that, right? The other thing I was thinking was that because the selection is based on the radius, right, that potentially, we as a committee or someone may have to do an overlay. And I think it wouldn't be too hard to take the resulting list, right, pass this, the resulting list, and run it up against a mapping software and show where these addresses are on a map, and then cross out the ones that are outside of Lower Southwood. So based on the selection criteria, right, and again, the selection criteria is essentially based on the address. You select a city or you select zip codes or things like that, or on a radius. Right? We could get a list of names, but if we really wanted only names in Lower Salford, there's probably some kind of manual effort to take those addresses and
Double check.
and maybe, you know, map them, right? And we could probably input them to a mapping software and to put, you know, and visualize it, right? And then essentially cross out that we think are outside of the Lower Salford boundary. Now, if we're talking about 45 to 50 names every 3 months or every 6 months or every year, probably not a bad manual effort, right? And if you only have to do that, you know, even without software support, you know, you could probably quickly go through a list of 45 addresses and quickly determine which ones you want to mail to or which ones you don't. But I think that's the best situation to get a list of names that truly Lower Salford, right, would be to generate it based on a radius, right? And then either look at the addresses or map them into an image and then decide which ones you're mailing to and which ones you're not, and do that every 3 months, every 6 months or something like that.
Yeah.
Right. But again, sounds good, except that I'm not satisfied yet with the fact that that's a good list.
Now, with that, and wow, thank you for all that information. It's incredible. There's really good, because that was really the questions that we have, how we contact these people. And I'm sure we'll have more questions as we go here. But I think the one thing that sticks in my mind right away is when you said that the people didn't line up, are they still new residents, just not the right names, or you're not sure of that yet? Because we could just shoot it general if that was the case. But
Like I said, my test was to take the names that were on the new resident list.
Okay.
And look at that address in the Montgomery County records. See if that, if there was some kind of real estate activity in that time period. And it wasn't matching up, but take it with a grain of salt, because it's not like that's my expertise or anything.
it's fascinating to hear the numbers too. I really had no ballpark. I had no idea how many we would have, you know, whether it be in place, a couple dozen. So that's fascinating as well. Well, I think we should definitely continue to learn more about this. I appreciate that.
So I don't know if anybody recognizes any of those streets, and
I saw a few that I didn't recognize. That was one thing I didn't say, but I come to recognize a lot of street names in Lower South, almost on sites. Like just by that quick glance, I saw a few I didn't, but on just break down just a few. I didn't look too intent look at that.
Because some are from Lansdale, some from Souderton, Telford.
I think that might be like something in Toe Menson via Lansdale. Lansdale address as well, so I think that's where you'll see the Souderton could be
That's Stock Woods.
right outside of Frank as well,
and like I said, I overextended the radius.
just to get a ballpark figure.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Right.
Any other questions on this? And I guess the next thing would be, and please, any questions, but what do we do next then? Do we want to look into this and go that route? Bring it to the board with this recommendation?
I don't want to bring it to the board yet until we know that the service would get us viable addresses.
Right.
And so I want to do some more research through Montgomery County. Like I said, I only checked the first 3. So I want to check some more. But then if I think of any other way to kind of test these addresses of determining whether, yes, Yeah, exactly, you know, you're not gonna go say, hey. did you
That's
look into it?"
that's the obvious one I could think of, but off the top of my head, I don't know, maybe if I brainstorm a little more. It's tempting, either way, grab 4 random darts and let's explain, and here's our newsletter.
Right.
Free posting. I'm not against doing it. But I think this is a wealth of information, and I am curious to hear if we want to follow up on this again next month perhaps, and go from there. Anything else you think? But yeah, I think
Well-
knocking might be the best, but I'm trying, I'm sorry I don't have another, and I'm trying to think, but.
I'll leave the hard copy with you.
Yeah, another copy.
Yeah. I'll do some more research through the county records to see if I can validate this.
And
If not, I may, and then via the website, the company seemed pretty friendly. And so I may just write them a note via their website and say, hey, right, produce this list, but
right.
I don't find records of these people changing address or record of changes at this address. What is driving this change for you?
Yeah.
What makes this show up on your list?
That's a great point, and I can see some of the newer streets we have, like Charles right here is a new street, so I know that one is brand new. And yeah, it's interesting, I'm curious to learn more about this, this opens up a lot, so.
John, was that the year one? You went back a year for that?
Yeah, this is
So was the whole 2023, or did you go back from last November?
Calendar 12 months.
12 months, okay.
Does it specifically tell you when they came in, just out of curiosity?
I'm not sure there's
We
this
started this way.
published date
Yeah.
here, right? And I'm not sure.
I see it's
you know,
9,
that
11, 23 perhaps,
Yeah,
808,
right.
might be up there. Okay.
Yeah.
So we can see how far back we go. Well, thank you, John, on that. It's a lot of information there. Really appreciate this. So,
Anyway, if the list turns out to be viable, and let's assume that, you know, this happens every 3 years. If the list turns out to be viable, the township would spend $62.50, right?
Yeah.
To produce a list every 3 months of new residents.
that's for the year, or is that an annual, or is that?
That's per.
Per, okay.
So
And
every time you generate a list,
Right.
it would be $62.50. Like I said, that includes as many as 250 names, but we're nowhere near that.
And that could be something that, depending on the budget, 4 times, 4 months, well, not 4 times, I'm saying, yes, 4 times, we do 3 months, or we can do 4 if we had to, 4 months. It
Right.
Still would, if I would feel, wow, this is nice, you don't want to go too much further,
Right.
right? Because you don't want to, thanks for thinking.
Yeah, 2 years
And like I
later.
said, if you just put yourself see a way around some manual effort to take the list that's generated and either manually review it or bump it up against the mapping software and say, okay, these are the ones we keep, and these are the ones that.
60, I don't think that's that hard to do, really. I can handle less than that in one meeting there. I can already cross a few off right here, so that's great.
Right.
So I think as a whole, we got a lot covered with our resident welcome packet. I think a lot more than we got a lot more than I expected, I think, last week at this point. So this is really good. I say we go right back at this for next week with any updates, finish off the letter, make sure we're good with this. I'll also mention it around the board, get some consensus too, so we have something to work with. So, thank you, John. Thank you, everybody, for that.
Thank you, John.
Any other questions or feedback for this? Move on. I know we're running on time here, so I don't want to hold everybody too much, but a couple things that we can definitely go through with the communications committee. Our next thing on our agenda is the offsite meeting. We did talk about that, some concerns, risks, mitigations, and the hosting interest letter. I did have a conversation with our manager, Joe Chakowski, and he said if we did have he doesn't really have many, he didn't have many concerns with an offsite. I know as I mentioned, I talked to it with the board, you know, different members of the board, and I know a couple of them I spoke to in front of Mr. Chakowski, so they heard that as well too. He says that if we were to do it, a couple things, because I said anything you want to offer to us too. He wanted to let us know if the township would advertise and you can put up signs on the hardware work as well. Some of the concerns addressed that we had last time that I mentioned were residents asking questions beyond the committee's control. And Joe says that we can simply write, if that were to happen, he says that we could write these down and pass them on to the township to follow up for the residents. So, you know, and I think that's something that we kind of talked about last time, weren't sure what he would, but his idea from the manager's standpoint is, you know, questions might happen. You say, okay, well, you know, we can't do that one, but we'll write that down and pass it on to our staff if something to come up for there. Then again, the idea of having the meeting accessible to all was another one that we discussed at length, and how can we do that? We didn't want to all of a sudden have no Zoom option when, you know, maybe this would be the night that a lot of people were going to come on that night. So he said that we could, the idea of having access. So I discussed with manager the idea of using Zoom on a tripod and a phone, you know, whether set that up. That's something I am familiar with doing, family events and whatnot, and I do have a tripod. And it's his understanding that the only thing we would probably have to do with that is to log in to Zoom via the township Zoom account. We would then have to allow, and then we would be able to allow access with others to hop in onto the Zoom. I offered to test it, and he has no problem with that approach. So if we did come down that line, we could set up there on site as long as we discussed with the facility as well. But I think and that's kind of the main things we covered right there with that. But the general consensus, and that's when I said, do you have anything else? His general consensus was he doesn't have a problem with it being offsite. And you know, now, especially when we were talking about the Zoom idea, where they were kind of okay with the idea before too. So that's where we are with that. I think that's something that obviously, you know, we're getting a little later tonight, but on the I did give a revision based upon our suggestions since I jumped over there, but everybody should have in front of them a copy of the revision. And one of the things was to put our message up top first. So I went back and forth with a few ways, just kind of moving that paragraph as we originally said, let's take that paragraph, put it up there. But what I came up with was just, as you can see in front of you, the Lower Stafford Township Communications Committee is seeking a host for an upcoming township committee meeting. That was my way of saying, hey, let's grab you here. There's the main message, and then one from there. Again, I didn't want to be too redundant. I took some things out where I realized, okay, kind of covered, but I kept a lot of the same information too. And this is just a draft that's subject to change, but everybody's welcome to take a look at that comment now, or we can even touch on it more next week as well. I want to take that home with you next month. You don't have to be here next week. The only thing I did realize, what I forgot to do when I double checked with our notes on the minutes, thank you as well, was the having our contact there, which is one thing that I put on my notes too. So I didn't have the email in front of me. I know it's communications, I think at lowerstaffordtownships.org, but didn't have it right off the top when I went to print. So that's why I put reach out to us at. I just put that blank space there. I would put the email there.
Okay.
And this would be, if we did go forward with this, as we discussed too, on a letterhead, wouldn't be a problem to get that on there and how we circulate
I have a few.
that. Sure, please.
First of all, should we the communications committee or the communication committee? Is there an S at the end?
I would say Lower Stafford Communication Committee.
Yeah.
No
That's
S,
communication, no S, yeah.
No S,
Or-
okay.
Very good, very good,
with a few S's in
very
the.
good.
Secondly, I think there's a better way of saying seeking a host. It makes us sound like desperate for ladies.
Seeking shelter.
Yes.
Good point.
Is looking to go out into the community, something like that, to
So I'll just do something, the Lower Stafford Township
Well,
Communication.
yeah, we invites you.
Seeking a meeting location in the community.
well, somehow that makes,
But
sounds
yeah,
like we
no,
don't
they're
have
not.
one, but it's like, So really the point is we want more people to be able to have access to a meeting, so that we kind of want to say it in a way,
Is hoping to take our meetings on.
something like that,
Not
right?
that, not to that
Right.
extent. And I can just.
And if we can't think of something right now, we can,
Right.
yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah, I have a few. Township should be T should be capitalized in that first. And I don't think we need an exclamation point after meeting. And then the next paragraph, again, the S, and the communication committee, should that be capitalized, the Cs?
Since we're speaking of our specific, sure,
Yeah.
definitely, and I'll cross off those S as well.
And there's another S, like better communication, that should be better communication between the township. Do we need its residents or our residents or just residents? Like the word its, I'm having trouble with.
It's subject to change, what do you think? It's better communication between the township, and I think on the other one, actually, to put back to that. We had improved communication between residents and their township. But one, but I can definitely fix that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I just circled
Right.
its, I would. And again, the next sentence, township should be capitalized, the T in township.
On my manual.
And I know you had a lot of apartments listed.
Mhm.
Are they considered residential facilities, apartments?
It's what we were calling them from, the beginning,
Yeah,
but you're
but
right, there's
like,
never been
technically,
definitive,
is
this
that,
is the
Like
right.
if somebody's living in an apartment, is it considered a residential facility or just? Like the word facility, I guess,
Yeah, and I.
in relationship to an apartment.
And we could just say. Together. Do you have any other suggestions for that? There it is. If me feels if we were hold our meeting at. Other
Your-
locations throughout the township.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thing like
that's-
multi-resident.
Multi-resident would be good as well. Would you like multi-resident that work?
Well, yeah, or other like either one, yeah.
Because really, they wouldn't know any other locations ever. Thank you. And no worries, this is what you said.
Again, communications at the third paragraph that. end of the
I'll make
sentence.
sure I get all that.
Various types of communication, should we do something like systems?
Various types of communication systems
Mhm.
or resources.
Or resources, yeah, resources is better. Last paragraph, again, the S in communication.
And maybe as I'm reading this too, board of supervisors, when you feel this necessary, might be a harsh word.
Yeah.
but Just read it myself, and
Yeah.
thinking when it is, when we have a suggestion, or make that sound like you need to do this, I didn't need. This kind of sounds out like it's necessary, so
I would take that sentence down.
when appropriate, when we feel it's appropriate.
Well, I would even just take it out, like, do they need to know that, like?
Yeah,
that's
no, they
something
don't
we-
need to vet.
yeah,
They also- You're right, that's too much.
Just to make recommendations to our supervisors.
So I think the point I was trying to emphasize was that they, just because they're. Obviously, we're open to suggestions and we welcome all suggestions, but even if we get a great suggestion, we cannot enact it necessarily right away. Just be something that there's a
Right,
process, and I think that's the only thing I was.
And
trying
that's something, like, if we do go out, we can say that.
We would,
start the.
right, but this would be
yeah,
more towards the manager or the person who's going to decide whether to have a certain.
Okay,
So yes, great point with that.
I can kind of visualize the whole third paragraph being. Need some time to think about it, but. I mean, as I read it, you're kind of, if you read it, you're kind of listing different things. And it may work. Your introduction, your first paragraph. Some bullet points and then your closing.
Yeah. are learning this as we put our last packet together too, so. And as I did just for this, it's just, I originally just took that first, switched the paragraphs I said from the previous one, it just doesn't look right, but I think you're right, you don't go into long. And really, you're right, we don't need that paragraph except the couple of things that we were just trying to point out, so that's the way I see that. Definitely do that. Anything else to add with the last paragraph too, just the closing, these were just, again, a general idea of where we can go from. So I'll open all suggestions.
But instead it is important that we have an opportunity, so we welcome the opportunity to
Very
hear
good.
from all residents.
Maybe the thing that we feel that your residents can offer, we know you can offer valuable insight and perspectives.
We know that your residents could offer.
Yeah, not even your resident, but yeah.
We know that. you
That
are-
I feel now.
Paragraph, first sentence. Getting rid of that comment. Phrasing it as, please reach out to us if you are interested in posting. Okay. Period. And then you know about comment breaking.
Right. Very good. On my school proofing, but not it's coming back here. Cross that word off.
So then, if we're doing it that way, we can be reached at. Or I can be reached at. And then the phone number. Township needs to be capitalized. like
I'll
word.
do all the capitals and the X's,
Yeah.
that's a good point, okay. It came down to, are we specifically saying Lower South or are we not, but obviously generally you're talking about Lower South Township, so it should be capitalized there. Very good. What I'll do is, since I have this too, I'll make sure I email this to everybody, so we don't. So we spend that time looking at it, getting an idea for him, so. Make sure we get that down.
This is the revision of the revision.
Yes.
Yes. We'll
Vision
get a few
two.
drafts, you know.
Yeah.
Right. But I do like, again, I don't want to go too far off it now too, but I do like that there is not as high concerns for having it offsite. They had some lines, but that was good to hear.
Yeah.
Particularly, you know, and I know I had more to discuss, but obviously admitted that when I said, well, one question is, okay, then, you know, I was gonna say how we had the idea, we wanna let people know, but yeah, we get a general question, and I think it's still worthwhile as we discuss more to have signage or something there's in the first notice to let people know that we're an advisor, you know, but we're, that if you have ideas, bring them to us and we'll pass them on. He's very good on that. That was our hosting interest letter, which was also on there too, we just got number 2. And I think the next thing that we have, and I know we've been here a while here, but we have the Township Tools and Channels or committee. You did get a point out here, Don, of the different options we have, and I'm guessing why to fill in our target audience potential use.
We'll push that off, but
I think-
this is the latest draft, so with Ali's additional information. Future meeting, how we'll fill in some of that other stuff.
Right. And what this is for everybody who may be watching this, just our means of contacts of who we have. We're not gonna read the phone numbers and contacts that we have for some of these, but for example, for our Ready Monco, you know, our contact would be Holly here as well. But who we have, our contacts for newspapers, emails, for our billboards, our welcome signs, the newsletter, the door signs, the bins that we have, our kiosks, social media, every means that we have of getting the communication out. What this is just a list of that we have this resource available, so we can pass it on. So if somebody needs, how do we do this? Communications committee has this available for people inside the township who could want to do that as well. I think this looks good, and I will say, I suspected that you got some of the information here, you know, Molly's welcome. There's a lot of information, and I like how we have a lead time as well. Any comments on this?
Pamphlet is
Looks good.
misspelled.
Good.
Was that
Pamphlet is misspelled, the L is missing.
pamphlet? Where would that?
Yeah, yeah.
Good catch.
Yeah.
Pamphlet, okay. Okay, very good.
Yeah,
And
right here.
on the front too, very good. And then, any other comments? Good point there, great. And then, of course, the other thing that we had to look up was our quick reference guide. And, as we discussed, were we gonna sign them this month? The three to follow up on and then confirm December, or do we want to do that in December, January? I think it was now, right? Just
Yeah.
double check. And what we did is just, we have our quick reference guide. Is this our thing link for the reference?
There, yes, that's
Perfect. We have 13 different things, and we discussed that. We want to confirm them for our next month. Set forth, just to make sure we have all the right contacts. If anybody has any other opinions, but what we could do is just go right down, take 3 each and just kind of follow up, make sure that they're okay. Is that okay with everybody? 13, so should cover most of them here. So Terry, if this is going, well, that's my left to right, but are you okay with the first 3, the Scouts, Boy Scout Troop 137, Indian Valley Girl Scouts, and the Encore experiences? And again, what we'll do is just over the next month, just kind of make sure that these are still the correct contact.
I'm gonna be going for surgery. I'm gonna be able to.
Fair enough, fair enough.
Sorry.
No worries. So let's skip and go right down. Gene, would you mind taking 4 then perhaps? To just follow up. If you want to
Very
take,
Indian Valley.
if you want to even take just the first 4 and then I'll do the next 4, or you can take any 4 you'd like as well. Is that okay with doing just 4 then, John? Just check up on them. With 13, 5.
So basically, we're just looking to verify.
Just make sure we have the right contact information on our
Okay.
reference guide.
Yeah, whatever, just tell me which
Sure.
ones you want me to do and I'll do them.
If you want to take the first 4, just the Scouts, the Boy Scouts Troop 137, the Indian Valley Girl Scouts, Encore experiences, and then the Indian Valley Public Library. And John, I'll give you the next 4, and I'll take the rest if that's okay. We have the Letter Rock Golf Club, back up there. Sorry. You're welcome to use this, but it's that's why I don't use it. Yep, so the next 4, just to say aloud, the Letter Rock Golf Club, the Community Center, the YMCA branches. And then I can double check with the Watershed, Heckler, the Fire Company. And landlord tenant questions, and then our additional contacts is actually right short, so that's perfect. And we'll just make sure that all the links are good, so are here next month, just to, before we get to the new year, make sure our quick reference guys.
And not only confirm these, but also, is there something else that should be?
And that's, before we leave, I will show everybody those websites real quick. I forgot that just to see, but some of them have guides and links that things that we didn't think of before, but I thought might, and some of them I thought, well, that's nice, but it would be too much to have on a reference guide. So perhaps there could be other things that encourage everybody to brainstorm. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we're just looking to update the specific information that's already on here.
Just to make sure that it's still correct.
Correct,
So,
but not
just-
to add anything
Nope, not to
necessarily,
add
just make sure that
anything.
all this works.
Yep, and if not, then
Okay.
we'll just update that.
Okay.
So I think before I get up, it's getting up, I think it covers most everything we have with our new business. As I said, I alluded everybody to the different moving over here and watching. The different welcome packets that we have on different. know how to get it. So, as our manager was talking, told me this afternoon, he noted that Hatfield Township had their resident guide on their website. Just kind of cruise through this, I know we're on time, so I don't want to be too long, but I can send everybody the link. But this is right on their website here. That's just the intro, but here's your contents. Talks about their commissioners, the staff, fire, tax collector, authority, boards, and really a lot of these give a 101 on what government is, you know, what you can do. Kind of see there's a community organization, voting information. All of them kind of have these general things. It's a lot more than we offer. And I'll send out these links, and then each one's broken down. Explaining it is like 5 commissioners, the 4-year terms. These are things that I'd be lying if I said that I knew it worked this well, you know, years before I was in this capacity. Goes right there. There's their staff, explaining the staff. Has links to the listings, township departments, and the nice thing is this is just one quick reference. For new residents here. And I'm going faster here, but get the idea that it goes on and on. There's your fire information, information on your tax collector, office hours, here's your authorities, list of different governments. Federal, your voting information broken down to their polling places. Different organizations, there's, as we had, like Keystone Opportunity, Man on Main Street, other things that we could do. Business services, parks and recs. There's all your maps right here, so they even have a Hatfield box center there. So it's an abundance of information. I'm going a little faster. There's even their summer camps. I know we have summer camps here too. Permit required, so now you need this for transportation. Really, if I'm a new resident, this is something that has everything. Again, we may have some FAQs, you know, down. This is the only, you know, up here is bigger. This was Montgomery Township. They had a PDF directly on their website, which had the whole packet as well. And you can see it kind of has the same thing. Welcome to your community. Where do you live? Government, voting information, websites, fire, police, volunteer. There's your township services. And I'm not going to go into too much, but you see they have. I got just literally Googling quickly township welcome packets, and up came Penn Ridge has their informations. And then up came well, I went with Hatfield as Joe suggested, then I went to Penn Ridge, here's Doylestown Township, and this one has a new resident welcome packet right here. You can see, you can click them. I think one of them that I had opened, it might have been Montgomery, had, you know, the date, it had the date there, so it would obviously it be done there. So I will send these out as well, but just so you get an idea, these are all the same kind of idea, whole packet. Whether they physically have one in the office, I'm not sure. Here's your, on behalf of your chairman letter right there. They have this. But it's a big table of contents. That covers a lot of stuff.
It's really lengthy.
Yeah, stuff that we would not generally have thought of, and that's why I said it almost gives us a whole nother year. But I think this is a great resource, and these are very. And obviously, I'm guessing it's up to date with the different elected officials as well. They even had a welcome video, I think, and this might be Doylestown, I think. And, they had a welcome video in theirs too, so we need to go that route. We got Doylestown. But just something I wanted to share with everybody. I thought that was another way.
So I wonder. Some of them also have the printed version available, and a couple of them were definitely PDFs, a couple, I mean, they looked like they were formatted
That's
for printing.
That's what I was thinking as well. I'm not sure whether they would have a physical copy for it. It's as you can all see, it's a wealth of information available. And I think generally on a website or given in any other capacity, it might be. As Gene said, go to the website, you can look around for what you want. I would, you know, something I would fiddle around with if I was the resident as well. We can definitely discuss that. Some food for thought for next, absolutely food for thought for next month as well.
I think in the phone, I don't know how many of you got, I always get a hold of printed copy of the phone directory. They'll have phone directory. They have a resident guide section in there that I'm gonna take a look at. I made a note to myself to take a look at to see what they have in there that is relevant to our.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and as you can see, that's where I saw the different things too, where, wow, this would be great, but then you get to that fine line of, and I like what we had, we put a lot of effort to getting to the main things, and I think we should always have that. But if you wanna find the little things, that's might be your better bet, you know,
Yeah.
going with something like that. I'm pulling this out for the calendar as I know, as I was saying, for next, keep saying next month, but make sure we have a good date for that. I think this is we got a lot covered here, at this meeting. Great meeting. Very excited about the welcome packet. It seems like it's something that really we have a lot more covered on this that kind of move quicker.
Wonder if those other townships are doing anything to actually identify new residents, or
Yeah.
they just have a new resident package if somebody.
It opens up a whole nother thing, and I didn't get in the description there, but just time wise, but I should just hit back with Hatfield, as I said, that was the first thing I went to. And it took me a little bit to find, you know, obviously, I think it's having the familiarity of the township website, knowing, well, let me go over to resources, let me go down here.
But if
Whereas
you're no resident, you won't.
right, you can't assume, and that's exactly what I was gonna say, you have to imagine that people going to the website, you're gonna either see it or you're not gonna see it.
Mhm.
Anything else anybody wants to add here or cover, anything we talked about? Again, we had a lot, I think for next month is everybody okay with next month? I know we're near the holidays there, the third Wednesday is the 20th.
The figure.
Okay. You still okay having a meeting in December then? Like,
It's fine. I'm having surgery, so I
oh,
won't-
no,
yeah.
no worries. Okay.
I was here.
All right, well, I think we're good then for next month, the 20th.
Okay.
Both here and on Zoom. But that will be our next meeting, sorry, got all this here back from our agenda here. Yeah, that's our next meeting, we'll be here 7:30 PM. Thank you again, everybody, for everybody's input, everybody's perspectives and thoughts. This has been great, we got a lot covered and we got a lot to look forward. I encourage you all to look at the other township welcome packets, which I will send. I'll also make sure we get that advised letter too. Any other things anybody wants to add?
How about a motion to adjourn?
That sounds good. Oh, one more thing, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Well, I
Thank you.
realize.
Thank you.
See you till Thanksgiving.
Second.
Yeah.
Second that motion. All in favor, please indicate saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, everybody. Stop the meeting officially.
Next meeting, the 20th.
The 20th.